More than a dozen U.S. cities have ordered nighttime curfews as protests rage over the death of a black man in police custody. Curfews are in force right now in Los Angeles, Philadelphia, and Atlanta, among others. The unrest has been escalating across the country as demonstrators took to the streets for the fifth day running. They're demanding justice for George Floyd and an end to police violence against minorities. While many of the protests have been peaceful, some demonstrators have set police cars on fire and there have been incidents of looting. In Minneapolis, where the protests began, police have massed in large numbers and deployed tear gas and rubber bullets to clear demonstrators breaking an 8 p.m. curfew. Let's talk now to DW correspondent Stefan Simons, who is on the streets of Minneapolis. Stefan, so now that there is a curfew in place, what is the situation where you are right now?
It is eerily quiet, I have to say. Ground zero for very violent and not so violent protests during the last week is entirely quieted down. The curfew was enforced with police rather determined, with the help of the National Guard, rather determined to let not happen anymore what had going down here the last few nights and the last few days, with buildings burning and protesters or rioters in that case looting and ransacking buildings and stores and private houses even. So we could actually say that what happened today is what happened to this car here in the back, that any effort of any rioters to set more buildings ablaze were crashing into a determined police force who took no prisoners in terms of using all the tools they had at their disposal, beanbags, tear gas, and anything else they needed to disperse the crowd here zone by zone, protected by the National Guard, who set up protective perimeters in which the police then could move in and remove and disperse protesters.
All right, so it is quiet now, but we know that earlier this evening you actually had your own confrontation with the police. Let's have a look at the video you sent us.
Stay back here. Get the camera back. Stay by the car.
Yeah, okay.
You're gonna get maced. Fine.
Guys, come on. Yes, we are. We're doing a job. And this is the Senate press accreditation, so come on.
Roll up on freaking cops. Go.
We're not doing anything.
Oh, you're gonna get arrested. All right, let's go then.
I'm not going to get arrested.
Yes, you are.
For what?
Get in the truck now.
Where would you like us to go? Okay. Thank you, officer.
All right, Stefan, well, that does appear to be a rather tense situation, but overall, how would you characterize police conduct in Minneapolis?
Well, I would say they did their job today, at least as outlined by their superiors / politicians, governor of the state, as well as the municipal government here. Remember, they didn't show up the last 3 days before today or nights. Just yesterday, we had a curfew installed here too, but there was no police and no National Guard actually even close to be able or willing to enforce this, and this has changed today. Conduct, as you can see in this scene where my cameraman Max Forg and I had this encounter, just a little bit of context, 3 police cars had actually encircled another TV production team. We don't know from what network, and as we do in the field here, we then rushed there and tried to document this, not to interfere, but document this. And as you saw, nerves were a little bit frazzled there. I can somewhat understand this because those policemen are under a lot of stress doing their job. But of course, they should have let us work and do our job. But you know, what do you do? You're not. We were not about to pick a fight tonight.
All right, Stefan Simons reporting from Minneapolis. We appreciate it. Well, George Floyd's death has also sparked demonstrations internationally, including here in the German capital. Hundreds rallied in front of the U.S. Embassy in Berlin in solidarity. Several groups had called for the rally on social media under the motto, "Justice for George Floyd, against racist police violence." And just a few miles away, graffiti of Floyd was painted onto a section of the Berlin Wall, together with the caption, "I can't breathe." For more, let's talk to Diana Arce. She's a Berlin-based artist and activist, and also the founder of the anti-racism empowerment project, White Guilt Clean Up. Diana, thank you so much for joining us. So what relevance does the death of George Floyd have to people outside the United States, and especially here in Germany?
Hi, good morning. Yeah, I think for Black Germans particularly, or any Black people, any Black diasporic people who are living in Germany, it's just a sign of what is happening. It's a sign of what's to come in Germany if Germany continues on the course that they're currently on. The United Nations had put out a report, I think 2 years ago, and made some very, very clear statements about how German laws do not do enough to protect Black people within the borders of Germany.
All right, well, what can you tell us about how people currently are organizing in Berlin to support people of color?
Well, I can't speak too much to how people are organizing to support people of color. I work primarily in grassroots organizing for supporting Black people. And there's a lot of different things going on. There's several collaborations and coalitions that have been being put together. One of the biggest issues that we have here in Germany is that aggregated racial statistics for police violence, aggregated racial statistics for incarceration, for deaths in custody. None of this stuff is actually available. So several different groups have been putting this together and working on this, like Reach Out and COP. And there's several big campaigns that have been being supported for a very long time that have started in the last few years, including ban racial profiling, because now racial profiling is legal in Berlin. And Each One Teach One has actually started this year an Afro census, where they're asking Black diasporic people in Germany to fill out a census so we can have a better overview of what is really the Black experience in Germany.
Well, with all of these demonstrations in the United States, across that country, outside the U.S., do you see this enormous response to George Floyd's death in police custody somehow a kind of turning point?
No, not at all. I think one of the issues in Germany in particular is that white anti-racist activists feel that they need to come and speak every time there is a death or a murder in the United States. But there have been plenty of murders in Germany, plenty of deaths in custody that have not been solved. Ori Jallo in 2005 still has not been solved. He died in police custody. And Mecklenburg-Vorpommern, the state in which this occurred, actually never, the state last year, I believe it was last year, it was the year before. Last year or the year before, they actually, on the last day of Black History Month, decided not to continue investigating this particular case of this Black man who died in police custody in 2005. And so for us, it's a thing of we see white activists, we see German activists come out and speak about what is going on in the United States in a very U.S.-centric way, without really acknowledging the problems that are happening here in Germany and how dangerous it is for Black diasporic people, including Black Germans, to exist inside of Germany.
All right, Diana Arce, Berlin-based artist and activist, we appreciate all your insights.
Thank you.